What's going on, guys? Justin here with AmericanTrucks.com. Today, I am catching up with Melissa to talk about her 2012 5-liter F150, rocking the ADD Pro matte black wheels, 17 by 8.5, currently at a 0 offset. Wrapped around those wheels will be the Ironman All Country Mud Terrain tires, to 285/70R17, works out to be a 33 by 11, and then that MotoFab 1.5-inch front leveling kit. Melissa, thank you so much again for joining me today. First things first, I'd like to ask everybody, what exactly were you going for with this setup?
I bought this truck and I didn't want it to be like skied out. I actually watched a lot of your videos. I wanted it to be flush and just kind of look tough. I didn't want it to look huge and tall. I tow a Jeep, a camper, and I put dirt bikes in the back of it. So I didn't want it to have a 4-inch lift. I had an older 1991 Ford and I had a nice little 4-inch lift on it, but I couldn't get my dirt bikes in and out of it. It was a pain. So my goal with this truck was to just have it kind of tough looking, not super tall where like I couldn't put anything in the bed of it and take out any dirt bikes or anything.
Let's hone in on those wheels first and foremost. Really big fan of the wheels. 17 by 8.5, currently at a 0 offset. What was it about the ADD Pros that drew you to them?
I kind of like the matte look. I am like not a fan of chrome at all. And I thought these looked super tough, kind of reminded me of the Raptor wheels, which is also what I was kind of going for. So I kind of liked that tough look. Just wanted to go with something subtle, but again, going for that tough kind of look. So that's why I went with those.
That checks all the right boxes, right? I hear it. You went with the 17 by 8.5. Why'd you go with a 17 as opposed to like a 20?
Well, I actually had help. I watched some of your videos because honestly, I didn't know better. So I didn't want any like rubbing or it to kind of look silly. So that's kind of why I went with that. So that was kind of the best option I was told. So I went with that.
And 17 by 8.5 is going to give you that width, of course, but with a 0 offset, you mentioned it earlier about having that flush fitment, which I think you certainly nailed. How does it look on the truck as far as you're concerned? Did you nail the look you were after?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I didn't want like a stock look. So it definitely looks, I would say, like beefy. The tires do stick out a little bit, but it's not enough to where like rocks or anything are being flung at the side of it. So I like that as well.
You mentioned the tires. Let's talk about them a little bit more. The Ironman All Country Mud Terrains, 285/70R17, again about a 33 by 11. What was it about the All Country that you really like?
So my dad is a huge Ironman tire person and he actually has them on his dually. And so that's why I went with those. I think they look really tough. I've had them on my other truck, a great brand. And also I do go on the dunes. So I needed something that I could go on the road with and it's not rumbling where I can't hear, but I also need something if I air down, I can go to the dunes. And also if I go to like to Badlands or anything in Indiana, something where I can try to go on all terrain because I'm never just in one sand. I'm never just in just mud. It seems that I go literally all terrain. So that was kind of the look for that.
I love that. No, and listen, I think like brand recognition or brand suggestions through family friends is a very common thing. I think that's solid, and the Ironman definitely is a great tire. You mentioned it is obviously the mud terrain, so it's an aggressive tread pattern, but it's not very loud, you said, on the road?
No, and I drive about 30 minutes to work every day, and I don't notice it super loud if I have my windows down. And driving on the highway, I don't notice it very much at all. I also do have an aftermarket exhaust, so I hear that more. But if my window's up, I don't notice the humming of the tires to be super noticeable or disturbing in the cab of the truck at all.
You also have the 1.5-inch MotoFab leveling kit. Again, you mentioned earlier about not wanting it to go huge. Did that give you the look that you really were after without going too big, I guess?
Yeah, so it gave me the look I wanted. With this truck, I wanted to still be able to have like the quality and comfort of a nice ride. I didn't want to feel like I was bumping all over the road. So that's why I went with that. And I do like it. I will say though, it kind of maybe has a California lean to it a little bit. The back kind of sagged a little bit at first. I don't notice it as much now, but in the beginning it did kind of have that. So I think maybe the truck has like settled into it. I did get new shocks too, so it looks better. But at first it kind of had that, you know, like lower end, higher front.
I mean, it looks great. The pictures you sent, I can't notice that. It looks pretty much perfectly level. And ultimately, you said the truck still rides great with that installed.
Yeah, it does. And especially towing, it rides really well. And that was the biggest part for me. I didn't want to have lift blocks or anything like that. I wanted it to be comfortable and sound and ride nice still. So that was the goal. And I definitely think it accomplished that.
Awesome. Well, you got the 33 by 11s, 285, 70R17. Any trouble fitting those? Any rubbing at all once you put them on?
So there is a little rubbing on the front. Now I still have black guard that goes underneath my bumper in the front of my F-150, and it does clip the side of that on either side if I am backing up in a tight turn or corner. The turning radius of this truck is really awesome, but it does with these tires clip the side of it and it makes a rubbing sound. Now that I know what it is, it doesn't bother me, but for anybody who put them on and hears it, it's not the end of the world, but that is what it is. So I did notice that, but
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, that little air dam thing down there. We've like trimmed the corners off sometimes to get it like a little bit more clearance, but ultimately if it's not bothering you, then you know, it's not the end of the world, right? Is there anything coming down the pipeline, any future plans with the truck as far as like wheel, tire, suspension is concerned? Do you plan on going bigger, or are you just kind of happy where everything is?
I mean, I absolutely love everything about it. I'm a huge Ford fan. I love the wheels and tires and the setup. I think it looks tough. You know, being a female driving a truck, you know, I definitely feel styling and cool on it. So it gets me from point A to point B and does everything I need it to. So I love everything about it.
Well, hey, listen, the truck looks awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it like you should be. I see you towing the dirt bikes, having all the fun, and honestly, I think the stance looks perfect. It's not too big, it's definitely not too small. I think you just nailed what you're looking for, and yeah, well done. So thanks again for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Guys, there you go. That was Melissa, again, with her 2012 5-liter FX4 F-150. Again, those wheels are the ADD Pro in matte black, 17 by 8.5, zero offset. Wrapped around those wheels are the Ironman All Country mud terrains, 285 70R17, 33 by 11 inches, and then, of course, giving her that front end lift is the MotoFab 1.5-inch leveling kit. So Melissa, thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate you having me.